Does a Technomancer benefit from long-range weaponry? Yes. Does a Technomancer benefit from the Plague Sower set at all, even remotely? Not really. Is the Plague Sower set the coolest thing in the game? Nope. Does the Technomancer benefit from submachine guns or other close-range weaponry? Not even close. Does that stop me from giving a shit? Absolutely not. In this video, we're going to cover the Plague Sower set Technomancer using the Fatal Symbiote submachine gun. It is a barrel of laughs. I love it. Wanted to share it with everybody. In this one, we will cover the pros and cons of this setup, the skills used, the class tree, and the weaponry and armor to complement your setup, and finish this one out with my closing thoughts. If at any point in time you like this video, feel free to click that like, that comment, that subscribe button. Help me grow this channel. Stick around to the end of the video so I get average view duration. I don't know why. I'll try to keep you interested. If not, you can head out whenever. Let's go. Pros and cons of this setup are actually pretty easy to explain. Just look at this guy. This is insane. I think it's actually a woman. Just look at my female Technomancer. She is a boss. The Plague Sower set is absolutely beautiful. The Technomancer is cool because you can just do whatever you want with your armor and just blow through challenge tier 15. So why not look good doing it? Flexing with your animal skull hat. Wearing the Borealis Monarch chest piece with this set looks incredibly cool. For some reason, it's just green shimmers everywhere and I absolutely love it. The Fatal Symbiote is incredibly powerful as well. You don't get any of your long range buffs because you just have a submachine gun in your hands, and why would you do that besides wanting to it's just so sick. Holding down the trigger is my thing, bro. If you don't know that by now, you're crazy, man. I love holding down the trigger. I'm all about that RPM. It is an absolute riot to use this. This setup absolutely works with any sort of AR. You got that Earthborn because you pre-ordered or bought it. You got a dope Inferno Seed. You got a cool 95k freaking AR. Yeah, go ahead, use that. That's dope. But this is definitely more so fun, definitely more so awesome, and way more swag than you could possibly imagine. The cons of the setup, obviously using a submachine gun, you're missing out on a huge portion of bonus damage in your long range damage department. You also don't benefit from really anything using the submachine gun specifically in this class. But again, see my point about the fun factor. Another con of this setup is I honestly am not sure if the Plague Sower set bonus does literally anything. It says when you have the full Plague Sower set, every time you apply toxic status, you gain 5% damage reduction for 5 seconds. And then it says stacks up. Stacks up to what? Twice, 10 times, 50 times? I'm not sure. Didn't feel like researching it. I don't care. It didn't show a buff above the health bar, so that means it's not idiot proof like the way I prefer it. So we're just going to let it ride and hope that maybe at some point it does do something. I will say that I think it kind of works because I don't even really feel obligated to run a defensive mod with this setup. I think the damage mitigation from the set bonus kind of helps insofar as I definitely never get one shot, even while using Dark Sacrifice. That's quite enough of the pros and cons of this setup. I think I got most of the major bullet points. Let's go over the skills used and the class tree. On our skills used, we will be using Cold Snap, Blighted Rounds, obviously, and Blighted Turret. On our class tree, we are going to be heavily invested into the Pestilence tree. The only real form of tankiness we get from our class tree is going to be the Blur Screen node, which kind of links Pestilence and Tech Shaman. That increases our health regeneration threshold. The other important thing I need to point out is we definitely want the improved vulnerability when we apply Toxic. It's really easy to get. Other than that, you got your standard stuff. We got bonus AR damage, we got our bonus damage received from 2 sides of the power, and our capstone tree, which gives us a bonus weapon damage boost every time we use a blighted skill. And in this situation, we never run out of blighted toxic rounds, so it'll be when we throw our toxic turret out. Let's break down our gear used in this build. For our weaponry, we are going to be using a submachine gun. The Fatal Symbiote is my favorite gun in the game. I don't care what anyone says. You are definitely going to do less damage than any of the super cool meta builds you've seen on YouTube with the sweet AR and the Earthborn and the 9 million damage on the modded gun and the firepower coming out of your butthole. But that's okay. They don't have what I care about most, which is sweet, sweet, sweet rounds per minute. The Fatal Symbiote keeps me hooked. I try to work it in whenever I possibly can. The holding down the trigger is what I care about more than anything when I game, and that is represented in this build. We got our Dark Sacrifice and our Killing Spree on this. The damage is phenomenal. I can't recommend it enough, but if you don't like this because the close range damage buff is not as powerful as long range damage buff on the Technomancer, it never will be. This isn't meta, I know. Then just use any of your sweet assault rifles. I've showed some examples right now running in the picture-in-picture. Anything really works. You want high firepower, ideally long range and close range damage with Dark Sacrifice. And for your second mod, you'd like it to have some sort of high damage single target mod like Storm Whip, Bone Shrapnel, or even Death Chains. If you are struggling with survivability, I'd recommend using a purple assault rifle that has the primary attribute of weapon life leech. It's incredibly helpful just stealing more health back whenever you hit enemies with your weaponry. Moving on to our armor, I would recommend using the Plague Sower skull to somebody who has pumped in a lot of time in the Technomancer and is tired of their appearance and wanting to switch it up. That skull helmet is incredibly badass. I think it is beautiful. Until you look at it from the back, and it reminds me of Baby's first motorcycle helmet. I don't know why they rendered the rear of this thing so weird, and I gotta tell you, I try to look at the front of this character as much as possible because staring at the back of this lady's head is an eyesore. Anyway, moving on. Splash Boost is the tier 3 mod that comes in the first slot, and I would recommend using that mod unless you find yourself being too squishy. Then I would replace it with Mitigation from Death. This is the standard tried and true way to get armor. You're always aiming down the sights to get kills anyway. Might as well increase your armor by about 150,000. It's very helpful if you find yourself getting murked out there in Enoch. If not, and you're doing great things, I don't think it's really necessary to have that armor. I think the set bonus does help damage mitigation enough. I have no proof of that. I can't even confirm that it works, but in my head, maybe the placebo effect, I think it works enough. I don't prefer to run this, and I take this off and I just leave the tier 3 mod that comes on there. Splash Boost is amazing. Having a bonus area of effect for your toxic rounds is great, as the Technomancer's toxic rounds do a buttload of damage to enemies that are close to your initial target. We actually don't use a Plague Sower chest here, and that's because both mods on the Plague Sower chest are contingent upon you losing your rounds or starting your rounds. I never lose rounds with this build ever, so why would I do that? We lose out on some bonus firepower, but we recoup that in some tankiness with max health on our gloves. We'll get to that in a second. We are using the robe of the Borealis Monarch. First of all, because it looks amazing. Second of all, because I got a god roll. Oh yeah, let's go. Let's flex. That's all right. Hey, 11.2, we out here. And third of all, because Icicle Storm / Cold Snap is definitely the Technomancer meta crowd control amazingness. The cooldown of 25 seconds is trash and it's really tilting, but this chest piece is nice. It gives you the stats you'd like. Status power is helpful for your toxic and your freeze whenever it happens. Icicle Storm is a great mod for humongous mobs. You pop that move, get a kill, everything detonates. Badass. And for the second mod on this, you're just going to want to put Toxic Lead on there to get your bullets back, so you always have unlimited toxic rounds on your character. You don't have to put Toxic Lead here. It does spawn on boots, so if you find boots with that on there. Pantalones, going back to the Plague Sower set, the Plague Sower's trousers. Every time I hear trousers, I think of trouser snake, but that's not relevant. What is relevant, these pants are awesome, they look cool, and they are another way to get health back. The tier 3 mod on here is pretty cool. Med Burst means that every time you throw out a new blighted turret, or if it dies or whatever, that old one's going to heal you. 20 meters is pretty far, unless you throw it clear across the map like Brett Favre or Tom Brady going deep, then you don't have to worry about missing on the health boost. And it also heals your teammates, which is pretty convenient. The other mod on here, I don't remember what it was, but I remember writing it off immediately as a non-starter. So we replaced that with Sharp Eye because, duh, Sharp Eye is a huge, fat, big bonus to your firepower, and I cannot recommend it enough. Also 11.2 god roll. What's good, dog? On our gloves, we're going to complete the set bonus for Plague Sower's hands. Yeah, these are max health and not bonus firepower, but this is the Technomancer. Your damage is fine, bro. You don't have to worry about damage. Like, if you were worried about damage in the Technomancer, like, I can't imagine how you feel playing literally any of the other characters. The max health buff on this is amazing. 4.5k is super helpful. Keeps us from getting murked in one shot by alphas or whatever we call it. And another reason why I don't feel compelled to run Mitigation from Death on our hat. The tier 3 mod on here is incredibly useful. Euthanizer is amazing. You always want that. It's just free bonus damage. We always are doing toxic damage anyway. Might as well buff it by 25%. On our second slot, we have Bloodlust because it's amazing. You can also work Bloodlust in elsewhere. The mods that I've put on here as secondary mods are really easy to play with. If you don't find exactly what I have, you should have no problem farming the purple boots to make it all fit together. Speaking of purple boots, we are running the standard meta purple gear on the Technomancer. Bonus firepower, close range damage, long range damage. Captain Hunter and Dum Dum Bullets are both mandatory for this build. Doesn't matter where you work them in. Dum Dum Bullets obviously spawns on the boots. Cannot recommend enough. Buffing your weapon damage is a huge overall buff to your damage output. It is far more than 10%. You need this. It's amazing. Captain Hunter, bonus damage to elites. You need this. It's amazing. Do I sound like a broken record? You need this. It's amazing. That about sums it up for this build video for the informational purposes. If you want to stick around and hear what I have to say about this build, feel free. If not, grab a cold one on your way out. Click like, comment, subscribe. You know the deal. Trying to grow the channel. Wrapping this one up, I think that this Technomancer is just so boring to play without some sort of gimmicky gun, and that's why I like using the Fatal Symbiont. his damage output with whatever piece of crap you put in his hands is going to be fine. You don't need to worry about damage, so why not use a gun that is incredibly fun to use? The Fatal Symbiont has high rounds, high LPMs, which is laughs per minute, and I go very strongly with my giggle factor when I set up my characters. Bro, if you're not having fun playing a video game, what the hell are you doing? That is why I love the submachine gun. If you are not into it, there are a number of ways you can set this up. You really cannot go wrong. Just remember, if you're going to be grinding out the 2 missing legendary hats that I don't have for the Technomancer for the next 555 hours, then you might want to use a build and a setup you actually have fun playing, because otherwise you'll want to quit and uninstall this game and never play again, sort of like the PC sweatlords who quit this game on the second day it came out. Shout out MVP, I miss you, buddy. That's pretty much all I got to say on this one. I hope you liked it. Until next time, we out.